I'm gonna move quickly, so some of the stuff I'm gonna abbreviate it because I know we're short on time. Again, thanks for allowing me to be here. I am going to run us through some reflection, where we're at, some reflection, where we're at, and some reflection. What does all that mean? Okay, so currently, as it was mentioned, I think you already all know this. It was encouraging to come out of the supplemental budget, come out of the legislative session with $1.5 billion over 3 bienniums. This did allow for a paving season this summer. I'll touch on that a little bit more. I do just want to remind all of us, and again, I know I'm speaking to the people that know this stuff better than I do. As we walk through the 25 season, the governor, his first full year in office, very much learned and came up to speed very quickly on the need for preservation and maintenance, and actually incorporated into his budget request going into the legislative session and asked for over $3 billion. So didn't get the 3 billion, did get 1.5. So it does set a very good and interesting stage. Some more specific details, and again, Charles had this laid out in a little bit different format. Here is that 1.5 billion. So you can see 1.3 of it lays out in our traditional preservation, and 200 goes into maintenance operations. More importantly, right now, as we look in the 25-27 session, is 300 million into preservation and 40 million into maintenance. So hang on to those thoughts and those numbers. Okay, so here's the chart you're all used to seeing, and it has been adjusted now. So interesting to take a look at this. Now we're at that peak of that mountaintop. That mountaintop is now touching right at the top of $7 billion. So that is, extremely interesting. And as we talk about that 1.5 billion, that dumped into that light green at the bottom. So the light green is what I'm usually always talking about on this slide that has very little movement in it, and that's what needs to move up. You can see it has adjusted it slightly. But I just going to kind of run a theme through this presentation here. I think everyone has been intently watching the space program with the successful splashdown that happened. And as I was thinking about that 1.5 billion, I think Charles articulated that it wasn't nearly enough. I think just another way to think about that is on Apollo 13, if you remember when they needed the oxygen scrubbed and their mission was a failure, but they just wanted to keep the astronauts alive. And they put the people in a room and they gave them a certain amount of resources and they said, keep them alive and this is all you've got. So the 1.5 is like adding one more piece of resource into that room for us, but it does not get us back to fulfilling the mission of landing on the moon, which is what Apollo 13 was trying to do. Okay, so setting the stage again for where we're at coming in through 26 and into 27. All the emergency work that took place in 25, I think, is very good for us to recall what it's all about. So I'm going to move through this, apologize for how fast, but it is relevant. We start out in, I'm going to touch every region. So Northwest region, an unstable slope and a landslide. This should start to look scarily familiar to you. Northwest region, steel structure, not painted, member failing, detours for traffic impacts, could have been prevented if it was painted. Theme that you all know, but it's worth reiterating. North Central region, another unstable slope, failed onto the roadway. Starting to sense a theme here on unstable slopes. North Central region, bridge rail up north. Look at that. That didn't deteriorate in a couple years. That's 20 years of deterioration that could not be programmed because the prioritization decisions that needed to be made had to be done with an emergency contract. All these slides you're seeing done now with emergency work. Carbon River has become the touchstone piece. It's like now Carbon River isn't just a project, it's an acronym for a failed preservation. Is that going to be another Carbon River? So Carbon River, again, I think you all know it well, but very low volume road, no freight movement. Almost every prioritization method that you can think of would say, if you've got to cut funding, you would cut it here. But that cut of funding, which was done, resulted in this structure ultimately not even be able to carry pedestrian traffic across it. Now, if it is chosen to replace it, its napkin estimate is $160 million. So Carbon River really did get everyone's attention on this need for preservation and maintenance. And as bad as it is for SR 165 and Carbon River and the citizens around it, it is good for getting solid understanding of where we're at. Culverts failing across the system. So here's one that failed in Olympic region. Here's one that failed in Southwest region. Here, if it wasn't bad enough that we have our features just falling apart because of lack of investment, we are also dealing with bad driver decisions. So we had several bad driver decisions in 25 that resulted in huge impacts and need for emergency contracts. This is just the one at Bullfrog. I think Brian White is on here. Him and his team gets kudos. They fixed this broken span in 86 days, which was a remarkable feat. But it was money that then was diverted from someone else to have to do this. And then to hit all 6 regions here, just a utility vehicle out of control, hits a bridge rail, we got another road closed and more emergency work. So why do I talk about all this emergency work? Because it is now becoming a major draw on our funds. And as this little graphic shows, that emergency work costs more money than if you were to do it in a non-emergency fashion, which draws more money away from the preservation, which means we do less preservation. And so you talk about the glide path to failure. This is the spiral of death of failure. The more we go in emergency work, the more we're just chasing it and we're going down, down, down. Okay, so where are we at with still the need? Remember, I presented here before, and over the last 2 years, we have been trying to be consistent with 5 critical funding needs. This is an old slide. That's why it says recall. These are old numbers, but it's just trying to draw the point. These are large numbers. And I want to then hit these 5 needs really quick as well. Here's that slide that Charles promised you, updated. Just look at the one number in the bottom right-hand corner. That's the one to focus on. So even with that new resource that went in to build the oxygen scrubbers on Apollo 13, the 1.5 billion, we need 1.29 billion a year. I'm just going to round that to say 2.5 billion a biennium is what is needed to restore the Apollo mission to actually land on the moon. So again, you've seen this before, but just because we got the blue line moved up right now, that's just one resource to try and keep people alive a little bit longer until that gets to the green zone, which I'll say it until you're sick of me hearing it, 2.5 billion a biennium, we're not landing on the moon. Okay, so more about paving needs in this. And you know these numbers, but I'm just going to show them again. We're up to now 45% of our lane miles are in the due, past due, far past due stage. The amount of money that we can put into pavement preservation is falling behind every single year. So that percentage is growing and growing and growing. If you're a geek, like many of you are, you wouldn't be on this meeting. You like to see numbers. And this is a scary table. So look at the ACP. That's your asphalt. Look at your BSTs and look at your concrete. So your asphalt roads, they're 35%. 35% due, past due, far past due, number growing every single year with the investment levels we have. BSTs, these are your rural routes. These are your communities that need the roadways the most. These are your roads for agriculture. 58% due, past due, far past due. Concrete payments, your payments that have your largest investment in them is your concrete payments, 28%. So you can see, rounding this all out, we're knocking at that 45%. Do you want to see it in a graphic picture? Sorry that it's blurry, but just know orange, green, bad. That means it's in those categories. Light gray means you're in good shape. How much light gray do you see on that map? Not much. Okay, we're going to jump now to bridges. It's the same story. A lot of data on this slide. I know I'm moving fast. Just go where the line, where it has the underline on it. 33 bridges currently need replacement. 35 requiring major rehabilitation. Why? Here's a chart of the age of our bridges. We have 342 bridges that are over 80 years old. That is beyond where you expect a bridge to function. Look what is, those that are going to follow us in these chairs, because a lot of us have gray hair now, look what they are facing in front of them. The amount of structures that were built that are reaching those ages that are going to need attention. And remember, right now, we need 2.5 billion. What is going to happen when those 1,172 structures start to need work? And I'm going to touch on that because some of them actually are failing prematurely. If you like graphics, here it shows those 212 bridges. They're not just in one location, they're across the entire state. The bridges that need to be replaced, need to be rehabbed across the entire state. If you wanted to then go out 10 years, across the entire state. The picture does not get any better. Ferries, since it's one of the critical funding needs, it's not my area of expertise. Charles touched on it a little bit. I'm just going to hit it lightly on what's been passed through. This is what is believed is needed to try and keep this system going. And I'm just going to break it down simply in what they tell me. Charles again touched on this one. This is a graph that just shows you the boats are too old. It just shows you the boats are too old. They need to be replaced. They're not being replaced in the right timeline, which means that they're not reliable. They take more money to take care of. And the number of boats that we have is insufficient for the need. And that's the number one problem. The number two problem is this. This is a very difficult chart to read, but basically what it's telling you is we're being expected by the legislature to get out of the greenhouse gas emission creation. And you can't do that with clean diesel. Clean diesel reduces particulates dramatically, but it does not reduce greenhouse gases. The only way you get out of greenhouse gases, all this mess that's shown you there, is electrification of not only your boats, but your terminals. Okay, jumping to the next critical funding need, the maintenance operations. I've just got a couple points I want to make here. This is just a slide to show you the draw on those funds are getting more and more and more. I could have a whole presentation on all the aspects, but the chart on the left shows you all these assets we're building with that mountain chart. They need to be operated and maintained. That money is not being given with the projects. That is the cost of those. The chart on the right just shows you one thing that we do, how the cost of it is going up over time. I'm going to slow down just a second because I really want you to think about this part of maintenance operations. I think we all understand to maintain and operate the highway, but we've hit a critical understanding that our facilities that our people are operating out of are not where they need to be. The facilities that take care of our equipment, that house our equipment, that allow us to have equipment, the facilities that allow us to have the resources to utilize that equipment, they're all too old. To make this simple is this slide, look at the bottom left-hand corner. Just to operate the facilities that we have, the gap is $21 million a year. To bridge the gap of actually preserving them and improving them correctly so they're in existence, the gap is $514 million. So this, as much as we need maintenance and operations and attention, and again, we did get that 300 million, the 40, 80, 80, that's great. But the gap is much, much larger than that. And our facilities have reached a critical stage in our ability to do that emergency work, to do that capital program. Okay, safety. Safety is always one of our critical funding needs. There's so many ways we could talk about safety. I'm like, how am I going to present this here? I just grabbed some verbiage on a proviso. I think Charles again mentioned there were some provisos that came out of this legislative session. This is one that is wanting us to get the legislature to understand more when they invest in preservation. When preservation is done where there's vulnerable road users, can we kill two birds with one stone? So that is kind of a current focus on safety. Safety could use investments on all sorts of levels. Fish passage, the fifth one, we're just going to be continuing to comply with the court ruling. This has resulted in a lot of projects. I'll show you that in a minute. It also results in a large funding gap that still exists. Okay, so I think Charles alluded to this too with his level of service. Those were the 5 critical funding needs. This is not the 5 critical funding needs. Within a very short period of time, I was able to quickly create this list, and it doesn't fit on the slide on purpose because I wanted to illustrate I could fill a slide in a snap of a fingers of projects that you all know some of them that you endorse, some of them that you try and make happen, that all are not currently funded in that $7 billion. That 1.5 billion is not helping them out. Any money that goes to any of these things will stand in the way of the 2.5 billion that is needed for preservation, state of good repair. So this is a challenge, and these projects, as you all know, are usually pursued by somebody. Okay, reflecting now on the impressions of the construction year here. I'm going to just stop for a moment. I just showed you a whole bunch of state resource needs and pavement, bridges, culverts, and all of this. I'm here and I'm representing the state, but I feel compelled to remind you, and you all know it because you usually have them here, the cities and the counties can tell you the exact same story with their system. They have the exact same type of problem that is correlated to their size compared to ours. Okay, so now, that was kind of depressing. Going back to the space though, we just had a successful splashdown with the integrity capsule. I want you all to understand and appreciate 2025 was a successful splashdown for DOT. We, with all of your help, we don't do this alone, over 100 successful projects. I'm going to click through these really, really fast because of time, but they're important to see. Great success in starting the deck replacement, deck repair work on the Ship Canal Bridge, staging for that to go for 2 more years. Great success in converting a diamond interchange to a diverging diamond. This is a successful splashdown. Projects like this in North Central region, getting this smart lighting in, that's a splashdown. Getting roundabouts built, that's a splashdown. Most of you are on this call drive this a lot. You drive it probably paying attention so you don't hit the cars around you. And I know you have much appreciation. How much is happening here on the improvement of the I-5 corridor? 2025, another successful splashdown. The amount, however you feel about bridge, the fish barrier issues, we are pursuing that program with success after success after success. Olympic region, a huge Miller project succeeded in 25. This is also in 25, Southwest region trying everything they can to hold back Washaway Beach. And if you don't know about Washaway Beach, this is amazing. The Pacific Ocean is taking away the coastline and there's almost no way to stop it. Us getting out there with a very innovative funding solution and an attempt to stop this, another huge success in 25. Just meat and potatoes type of projects. This is a grade separation. Talked about a long time getting started in 2025, splashdown. Snoqualmie Pass East, one of my pet projects because of my history in it. You are driving on miles of it that are success. Know that in 2025, still way more success in pursuing this grade being manufactured. This is more animal separations, huge success in splashdowns. Another one that's near to my heart is the North Spokane corridor. This is a picture of the crossing of the river. You can see off in the distance the corridor that's completed. Huge success. 2 more contracts out into the contracting world right now, pushing this thing closer to I-90. 2025, huge, huge success. So with all that I presented that was depressing and that we learned, I would say if you look at 2025, we dealt with a host of emergency work. We dealt with a program size that's the largest we've ever had. And we dealt with these December storms. And again, I'm moving really fast, but I know you'd love to see some pictures. This atmospheric river that hit us in December in a few days caused more damage than I can ever recall in a short amount of time. Over 100 roadways closed. This is a Northwest region hit hard. Again, I'm going through these fast. I just want you to see the magnitude of the type of damage, of complete annihilation of roadway prisms, support for guardrail, mounts of material on the highway that had to be removed. You know what this does to the culvert system, the ditches. This is 542. This is 410. This is Highway 2. This is Highway 2 now in Chris's region. This is North Central. I'll stop here for a second and take a breath because this is important. Look at that picture on the left. So Tumwater Canyon, it was all but annihilated. There was like 7 areas that were close to what you see with that picture on the left. Roadway completely gone, all the supporting roadway prism gone, everything gone. And then on the right is a picture of like 9 other locations looked like that. Driving down the road, they didn't look bad. But if you looked over the edge, there was nothing holding up the guardrail any longer. So the amount of devastation in US 2 and Tumwater Canyon, all done by emergency contract, done quickly and efficiently and effectively, but still costly and not planned in the program. North Central had to deal with little presence like this because of that atmospheric river. Olympic region, already having problem with slopes on 101, did a major destabilization of a section that we're still trying to figure out the long-term engineering solution here. Brian White on I-90, same thing as the Tumwater Canyon, the side slope washed away. South Central region also in Natchez lost all of US 12, all emergency work, over 20 emergency contracts and still putting together $50 million worth of work. So that was, for us to pull all that off, keep our astronauts alive, was pretty darn good. So where do we sit now? We're continuing to deliver the largest program by dollar that we have ever undertaken. We've got this mammoth chart in front of us, and I'm here to tell you, just like that splashdown in the Artemis space program was a success, and they're planning for the next one, you're going to see the same success in 26. That's what DOT is here for, with the support of all of you. So I'll start out again by saying that $1.5 billion, the $300 million in this biennium, did fund us a paving season in 26. That is a lifeline for some highways and a lifeline for our paving contractors. That is a win. We're moving into this construction season. We decided just to put this on maps so it can be appreciated what that mountain really looks like. Just because of the shape of Northwest region, it's going to be 2 slides. But look at the amount of work that we're currently doing and will be doing in 26. You see improvement, preservation, safety, fish passage. The lower 2 counties, improvements, preservation, safety, fish passage. North Central region, projects. Olympic region, the peninsula, improvements, preservation, safety, fish passage. Look at all those projects. Look at what we are doing. Southwest region, projects over the entire region. South Central region, projects over the entire region. Eastern region, projects over the entire region. So the positive side of all of this is, man, are we going? We've got a space program going, and we're going to do another launch. We're going to get that base built. We've got everyone's attention because of what has already happened. They want to hear what's going on. They want to try and get us the funding that is needed. We will, not only are we going to do this 26 season, and I think you might have seen this come out, it happens to be like the 1-year anniversary of our work zone speed cameras. We will be having more work zone speed cameras this construction season. They're very successful. They're given a lot of infractions. They are starting to show data that they are dropping speeds. We will be using uniformed law enforcement officers within work zones to try and keep them safe. Safety, as we're doing this work, is highly important to us. To keep our employees safe, our contracting industry employees safe, to keep the drivers of the roads while we're doing this work safe is a priority, and we will be using these tools as well. Okay, so we've got this space program. I keep using these funny things to kind of to keep you excited to hear what I have to say. But guess what? In 26, we've already had the oxygen tank blow up. So this is Moses Lake. This is one of, well, I'll just go. This is Henson Road. That's not what a bridge is supposed to look like. So here is a Carbon River. Carbon River was a steel bridge that no longer could be used. This is a concrete bridge. This bridge has not met its lifespan, but it is no longer usable. It has accelerated deterioration because it was not afforded to be maintained correctly. We are right now, this bridge is closed to traffic because it can't carry the weight. And we are currently putting an accelerated contract in place to replace this bridge. That bridge is using this bridge 5 miles away as its detour. I'm going to go back and forth. Do these pictures look familiar? Look similar? So the bridge we're using as a detour 5 miles away, the Hiawatha, is right behind it in its accelerated deterioration. We are watching this bridge closely. It is the detour bridge. The idea is it's probably going to last just long enough for us to replace Henson, and then this bridge is going to go out of service. If bridges aren't enough, these unstable slopes, I'm telling you, they're everywhere. There is something going on. I don't know if it is a combination of our lack of investment in taking care of unstable slopes over 20 years, aligned with different earth temperatures and climate, but we're having more unstable slope activity than we have ever had. And just so you also know, many of the features we put in place over the last 20 years, netting and so forth, it's all used up because it has been catching rocks, no money to replace it, but we can use that 1.5 billion for some of that. This emerged out of nowhere. We count on this bridge to move traffic because of that deck replacement that we're doing, the Ship Canal Bridge. This is a graded deck. It started to fail. So a series of emergency contracts to try and keep this thing open that was not anticipated. This is a bridge up in Chris's region, North Central region by Grand Coulee Dam. This is actually a video. It's on Facebook. You can go look at it. When a vehicle drives over this bounces up and down to the point that you should be concerned. And it is safe to be open, but it does tell you this structure is in need of some work. Okay, I talked about Moses Lake area, the Hanson Bridge, the Hiawatha Bridge. You move a few more miles to the east, and we've closed Adams. So now we've got 3 bridges that are accelerated and are no longer, 2 of them not usable, they're closed, 1 on its way, well before their lifespan because they were not preserved correctly. Not because anything was doing wrong, is when you make priority decisions but you don't have enough money, there's something you don't have to do and there's a consequence to it. Okay, been talking about the unstable slopes. I think you've all seen this one in the news. We just got this one cleaned up and opened as of yesterday, but not good. And there are a lot of Facebook saying, why don't you just get in there and take this out? This was a big deal. That's why I'm trying to show the picture on the right. The way this bank is failed and the sliver type of failing, this was a remarkable effort with the amount of weeks it was closed to get this cleaned up. But this is a lot of emergency work. A lot of oxygen tanks exploded essentially. SR20, does this look familiar? And you just don't go in and clean this up. We are having an issue with destabilization of our slopes. Here's another washout. Doesn't look bad because the photograph doesn't do it justice. This needs attention on SR20. Out of the blue, another slope comes down. This is in Olympic region on 109. Culvert, another culvert failure. This is a combination of a resource being too old and, again, extreme weather events. Another emergency contract. And emergency contracts, our issues are coming so fast, I can't even keep my presentation updated. So there's a few more that aren't even in here. This, I get a call from Brian White. All of a sudden he says, hey, Todd, you know that area? This is going up White Pass on US 12. This is not looking good. That the lip was getting so much, it was catching cars. They go out there, they can drop a shovel handle in this hole, and another unstable issue that is taking place. We had to close a lane, evaluate it. This needs attention. So what is all next on all of this? Well, we need to try and stay focused on these 5 critical funding needs: preservation, maintenance operations, ferries, safety, fish passage. We can do it. We are going to have guiding principles, and I know you're all with us in this. We're going to be accountable, delivery. I just already showed you, we have a construction program planned in 26 that builds off of the success of 25, that I'm paralleling it to the space missions. We had successful splashdown, even with all the interruptions of emergency work. We did more things in 25 and kept the system going at an amazing level. We've got 1.5 billion more that's been added in, which does not return our mission, but it's helping keep us alive in the meantime. We're going to utilize that money as well, and you're going to see all that work delivered. You'll see that, and while doing this, we will be innovative because we've got to be thinking out of the box, collaborative. That's why I'm here, and we need to sustain all this by having a workforce, the salaries, the training, sustainability. I'm going to say it again. We got to have our facilities. So, last thing, you're going to see us staying on track, and we'll be working with all of you and our labor partners and our contracting partners to pull together like we always do. We're going to be looking for new ideas, whether that's contracting methods or design methods. And as it says bold there in the bottom, we're going to be doing this with safety first. And then I'll say it one more time. Everything that I've shown you here this morning, and I wish I could have did it slower and explained it more. See me on the side if you want more details. The cities and the counties are going through the exact same thing. They have the exact same problems, scalable to the roads that they are in charge of. So this is not just a state highway problem. It is a Washington state infrastructure problem. So there we go. That is the kind of the state of where we're at. So I'm up and down. We have a lot of stuff that gives me pause, and I take all the talents that we have, use the resources, and we make success out of it. And we're going to show it in 26 that we can do this, and have our fingers crossed that we even get a bigger mountain to climb. So with that, I will stop.